Okay, so today's pointless job on my own car today, fortunately, is to retrofit this ridiculous M5 steering wheel because it has paddles on and mine does not have paddles on. And well, let's face it, why wouldn't you want paddles on it? So it's going to be going on the 6 Series, 645 CI, nothing too exciting, but it doesn't have paddles at the minute and it does need them. So we are going to fit them. We're going to have a look if we can do it. If we can do it, then we are going to make it work. It's probably not going to be as straightforward as some other models. The E46 is particularly simple. This one probably going to be a little bit more tricky, but I think we're going to get there. So bear with us. Let's see what we can do. Right, so now we've got the steering wheel off. This is the one that's come off. Standard 6 Series steering wheel. Not very exciting. This is the... don't need that thing. This is the one from the M5. Here's the bits that we're interested in. Both paddles work well. Seem to click nicely. They are, as I expect, just grounded to the steering wheel, so fairly straightforward there. Hopefully this is going to go fairly simply. I do have some spare parts here which I have had lying around for a little while. These have given me all the information I needed really. Nothing too complicated here, just a slip ring, steering column switch cluster. I will be using my original steering column switch cluster, but I will be using a new slip ring. The key to this retrofit is finding a slip ring or airbag ring or squib or whatever you want to call it, which is for a heated steering wheel car. So if you did want to do this and you do have a heated steering wheel, then you're going to lose the steering wheel heating, I'm afraid. Again, it's worth the sacrifice for me, but I didn't have it anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So yeah, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this apart. I'm going to throw this bit away basically. We are then going to use a new one which I've got here in this lovely box, ready to go on, and then it's all going to work. It's going to be marvellous, and there are going to be no problems. So we're going to have to look for a way to make the signal come from the wheel, from the paddles, through this without going into this. From what I've seen on the other one that I've got lying around over here, we have 2 pins in the heated steering wheel slip ring, which we should be able to use. We're not using them for anything else. They do plug into the steering column switch cluster, into these 2 pins here. I don't know if you can see them, a little bit difficult to see on camera. So they plug into these 2 pins. We are probably going to have to, I don't know, maybe cut these off, maybe drill them out. I'm not sure what to do with those yet. What we don't want is the plugs on here plugging into them. It will cause us all kinds of headaches. So we are probably going to see if we can rescue the pins. We might end up, probably the easiest way to do it is probably to put a small hole in either side of these, and then pop a little wire through to run to the gear selector. Yeah. Right, so we'll see how we get on. Anyway, I'm going to fast forward you through this bit while I strip the front of this wheel off, because I'm hoping that this trim will fit on the M5 wheel, because I don't like the M5 trim. It's a little bit grotty, it's been scratched and pulled about, plus it's got an M button which is irrelevant for me really. I don't have any M powers, so that might as well go in the bin. So yeah, I'll fast forward you through this bit and I'll see you in a minute. Do like that. This can pretty much go over here. Leave that to one side, we don't need that anymore. This can also go to one side, while we try and figure out what on earth we're going to do with this thing. So I'll skip you through any of the unimportant or exciting bits. See what we've got in here. So here we've got a brand new slip ring, squib, call it what you like. Parts catalogue calls it a slip ring, so that's what I'm going to go with. This is my old slit ring. This should be fairly straightforward to pop off with a skeleton. Little stabby tool, let's put that in there. Put that off. There's three little sort of circular things there, clippy things, which hold on a little ring inside. So we unclip those, we'll pop that little ring up. That's all that really holds this part on, apart from the switches in here. So we'll give that a little pull, and be very, very careful here with the little wiper tabs. So the wiper tabs on here, very delicate. We don't want to bend them, we don't want to, I don't know, mess them up. The brushes are really sensitive. This is what controls your steering angle sensor, so be very careful not to damage that. So we can see from this one, these are completely different underneath, so we need to remove these wiper brushes from this slit ring. And it doesn't look like it's going to be too complicated, just a couple of clips from look at that. So if we can try and do it without throwing it across the workshop, that'd be great. Okay, so that looks like that's off. There we go. Right, so this essentially is scrap now, we don't need that anymore. Put that to one side. This is in two pieces apparently. So we've got that bit which clips it on, holds it all together. And we have this little thing which is obviously got a bearing in. This controls the, like I said, the steering angle. So need to be careful not to damage those brushes, otherwise we are going to be in a right mess. So this one, to excite in here, I'm assuming this white thing stays in place. Looks like that's just the only difference between these, is one's black, one's white. The white probably signifies that it's for a heated steering wheel. I don't know, maybe not. I don't know if you can see on the camera, this one has two extra pins in here. So because it's for a heated wheel, we've got a pin here and a pin here. What we're going to do is we are going to make those the ground connections for the signal wires for the gear selector. So we've got a little bit more wiring to do once we put it back in the car. Nothing too complicated, I don't think. Pretty much once it's back in the car, to be fair, it's pretty much the same as an E46. It's this bit that's the difficult bit. So we have our steering column switch cluster here. It's very tidy inside actually. Quite pleased about that. So what we need to do is think of a way to get the wires through here. If I'm looking at this, it should be fairly straightforward. I think we are going to go with a little hole drilled into here. I think then we're going to just dab a little bit of solder on them. I could put some pins in there. I don't think that's going to give us any kind of benefit. I don't think there's any reason to really do that. So we are just going to go with the crude old school, drill a hole in it, solder it together, know that it will be a good connection, know that it will always work, and then basically we'll have a direct connection from this side of the wheel through the ribbon inside, two separate ribbons here, through the ribbon inside to this plug, which is what we need. We need a way of getting the two wires for the paddles, one for each paddle, to this plug on this side, without going through the steering column switch cluster. This is data signals. We don't need data signals, they'd be far more complicated to deal with, and just far beyond me, those kind of crazy pixies. So we're just going to drill some holes. I'm going to skip you forward through that. Now, nothing too crazy, we've got two little holes in the side of these. I don't know if you can see them or if this thing's focusing at all. So we've got a couple of holes in here. So what we're going to do, we're going to lay a bit of flux in there, just clean them up a little bit, maybe tin the pins. Depending on how delicate the soldering iron is, it's had a bit of abuse recently. So choppy. Choppy. yeah, I'm not too worried about that. There's nothing in there that's going to cause me a problem. There's no 10 mils left in there, so that's good. These bits are irrelevant now, they can go along there until somebody throws them away. And this can go back together. Happy with that, it's good. Pins are good, pins are strong. Wipers are unbroken and unbent. It's always nice. So let's see if this fits, and then we've got to see where we can run this. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this bit. So the key to this is to get this wire from here essentially to here using those 2 pins. Simple as bees. And this will for definite work, almost probably, very likely, maybe. Okay, so put the indicator stalks back on and the cruise control, what have you, the sticky things. Didn't need to take them off in the car, I took them off to make it a little bit more manageable. So that helps a little bit. I've just put them back on, and I think I have to fit in the front panel the cosmetic black piece. It looks as though we've got a little bit of room to run the wiring around the outside edge and through a little hole at the back of here. So I'm going to try that, hopefully that will work, and then we can reinstall all of this lot and move on to the next step, which is going to be the gear selector switch, and hopefully we can pick out the 2 wires in there which are used when we switch it across to manual or sport manual. We can pick out the 2 wires which send the signal to the gearbox to change gear. So you see, what we've done is run the cable across the front and here through this little thing and through the back of there. Now I don't see any reason why that won't work. Nothing really that's going to impede its use, as long as we stay away from the middle and stay away from the switches. Should be good. Now I'm just going to give this a little clean, because now I've seen it, I can't put it back in my car like that. Right, I'm back over here. Let's see what's going on. Right, so we figured out from the wiring diagram on here, which is available on newtis.info. All the description for everything is going to be in all the links for everything is going to be in the description below. So I'll put a link to this website in the description below. It's very, very useful for BMW documentation. So we found from the wiring diagram that the wiring for the steptronic switch, which is what we're going to be using for the signals for the up and down, are exactly the same as on the E46, which is great, because I've made hundreds of E46 paddle shift kits, so very straightforward. So I'm going to go around with this elastic band, and I'm going to make the paddle shift kit now, and then we can screw it all back in. And then we know from this we're probably going to need about that much wiring, I would imagine. I'm happy with that. Right, you guys can come over here and have a look how we make an E46 wiring kit. So as I say, the wiring is exactly the same as the E46, so there's plenty of resources for that on the internet. Pins 2 and 3 on the plug that we're going for, control up and down. I can't remember which one's which off the top of my head. We'll find out in a minute when we come to that part. Right, so again what we're doing, we're sort of making a bridge, we're splicing into 2 pins but we're making it so that we can return it to stock whenever we want. We can take these plugs back out. There's no cutting, there's no soldering, there's nothing that's going to upset the wiring loom on the car, which is exactly what we want. So this fits into there, and the plug on the car will join into that side, go into that side. It's perfect. So make sure we get these in the right ones. The only ones we're not going to put in at the minute are the centre two, because we're not sure which one's up and which one's down on the steering wheel just yet. So I suppose now's as good a time as any to figure that out. Okay, so after a little bit of testing, I figured I need the steering wheel on the car to really do it properly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the pins in, and then we're going to plug it all together, put it on the car, and then switch them around if they're the wrong way. 50-50 chance here, toss a coin, see what happens. Oops, there we go. Okay, so one plug, one loose and done. Make sure these go to the corresponding plugs, otherwise it's just weird things. That's it. Okay, so I'm not going to take this up, I'm not going to cover it yet. Just want to make sure that everything works before we do that. And that is it for the bench, I think. I'm going to take it back over to the car. See you in a minute. Okay, so this is just refitting. Nothing too exciting here. I'm going to fast forward you through it. We're going to run the cable. We're going to run the cable down here, underneath, and probably up under here somewhere. This comes off fairly easily. Just pull it. But this is the cable that we're after. I don't know if you can see from there, but it's a little purple pink thing. We're going to join into the middle of that, and we're going to see what happens. It's very exciting. So the steering angle's all wrong, we sort of expected that really. This knows what gear it's in. And obviously let me do anything plus and minus here. So to fix that, we are going to just flip the plug round. I'm going to need a tool. Right there. Okay, so we have run the wire in to the inside of the car, and we'll run it around this bit under here. Fairly easy to poke through, and then just shove it up under here, and then just put it through. And I've got a little bit more than what I wanted. I was sort of hoping it'd be a bit more compact, but let's see it under here. All we had to do is break this plug apart. Oh, sorry, there's just a 4-pin plug. What we're going to do is pop this in the middle of it. So obviously the female and male ends on that side, and then the other end will plug into that. And that will take us, that gives us like essentially a splice just here, which goes up to the steering wheel. So let's pop that together, and then we're going to turn the car on and see if they work up and down. Fingers crossed. Right, so back in here, I've got the wiring plugged in now. So this is the cable that comes out, goes up to the steering wheel. Nothing really to do with this, there's nothing that moves around down this side, so I'm just going to poke it in. You can be a little bit more tidy with it when you do it. This is probably all going to come out again, so I can tidy it all up at a later date anyway. So I took the wiring just down the sides. So this clips back in. Supposed to. There we go. This thing's never fit properly since somebody changed it. Not to worry. Alright, okay, so I've got the ignition on, we can start the car. We're going to have some warning lights on. We've had the steering column switch cluster off, so there's going to be active steering faults. Not a problem, we can deal with that in a second. Same with the airbag light, again not a problem, that's not what we're concerned about. So what we're looking for is into drive, across to sport. Now if I press down it should go into first gear. So we're talking manual 1, okay, and then 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, well I can't get all the gears obviously while we start still, but no. So it's successful, seems to work. Don't think it will put itself into manual if you tap it, no. So I've still got to deal with that. I'm going to fit a latching relay that will make that happen, so perhaps we can pull both paddles and that will put it into sport mode, similar to what we do on the 46s. Again, fairly straightforward. So I guess that's it for now. I'm going to finish putting this back together and pop the airbag back in, deal with the faults, and then go and drive around for a little while, make some noise, have fun.